Good evening, boys and girls. Today I will be reading to you. Chapter 13. The big day arrives. The sun was shining brightly on the morning of the big day, but the ground was still white with snow and the air was still very cold. Outside of the gates was Wonka's factory. Enormous crowds of people had gathered to watch the 5 lucky ticket holders going in. The excitement was tremendous. It was just before 10 o'clock. The crowds were pushing and shouting, and the policemen with arms linked together trying to hold them back from the gate. Right beside the gate, in a small group that was carefully shielded from the crowds by the police, stood the 5 famous children, together with their grown-ups who had come with them. The tall, bony figure of Grandpa Joe could be seen standing quietly among them, and beside him, holding tightly onto his hand, was little Charlie Bucket himself. All the children except Charlie had both their mothers and fathers with them, and it was a good thing that they had. Otherwise, the whole party might have gone out of hand. They were so eager to get going that their parents were having to hold them back by force to prevent them from climbing over the gates. "Be patient," cried all the fathers. "Be still. It's not time yet. It's not 10 o'clock. Behind him, Charlie Bucket could hear the shouts of the people in the crowd as they pushed and fought to get a glimpse of the famous children. "There's Violet Beauregarde," he heard someone shouting. "That's her, all right. I can remember her face from the newspapers." "And you know what?" somebody else shouted back. "She's still chewing on that dreadful old piece of gum she's had for 3 months. You look at her jaws. They're still working on it."
"Who's that big fat boy?"
"That's Augustus Gloop."
"So it is."
"Enormous, isn't he? Fantastic." "Who's the kid with the picture of the Lone Ranger stenciled on his windbreaker?" "That's Mike Teavee. He's the television fiend. He must be crazy. Look at all those crazy pistols he's got hanging all over him." "The one I want to see is Veruca Salt," shouted another voice in the crowd. "She's the girl whose father up 500,000 candy bars and then made the workers in his peanut factory unwrap every one of them until they found a golden ticket. He gives her anything she wants. Absolutely anything. She only has to start screaming for it, and she gets it.
Dreadful, isn't it?"
"Shocking, I call it."
"Which do you think is her?"
"That one, over there on the left, the little girl in the silver mink coat."
"Which one is Charlie Bucket?"
"Charlie Bucket? He must be the skinny little shrimp standing beside the old fellow who looks like a skeleton, right close to us. Just there, see him?"
"Why hasn't he got a coat on in this cold weather?"
"Don't ask me. Maybe he can't afford to buy one."
"Jeepers, he must be freezing."
Charlie, standing only a few paces away from the speaker, gave Grandpa Joe's hand a squeeze, and the old man looked down at Charlie and smiled. Somewhere in the distance, a church clock began striking 10. Very slowly, with a loud creaking of rusty hinges, the great iron gates of the factory began to swing open. The crowd became suddenly silent. The children stopped jumping about. Their eyes were fixed upon the gates. "There he is!" somebody shouted. "That's him!" And so it was. That's the end of chapter 13.